Hello, everyone. Welcome into Yelling from the Couch. I'm Brent Humphreys, joined once again by my co-hosts Gage and Gordon Chatterton. And also, we have a special guest joining us today from Pro Football Focus, Dalton Wasserman. Dalton, welcome to the show. How are you doing, man? Doing all right?
Yeah, fantastic. Appreciate you having me on. We got another good week of football coming.
Any week with football is a good week of football, I believe. It's always good. Even though, my Bengals are kind of down a little bit. Gage, let's not even talk about that right now. We'll talk about it later. Joe Burrow's practicing. Maybe he's going to play. I don't know. It really doesn't matter at this point, I don't think.
No, not at all. Why would Burrow play being, what are you guys now, 4 games back in the division? Why risk it, especially behind that offensive line? Don't even risk it.
Yeah, well, I mean, even last week, the offense didn't look that good at all. The defense didn't play actually that bad for once. But, yeah, I don't know. If he's healthy, they say he's going to play, but is it worth the risk? We'll see. Does it matter at this point? Probably not. I just want the Bengals to keep me in it till Christmas, and can't even make it till Thanksgiving this year.
But you know what? You had too much hope this year with the Reds and baseball and keeping your playoff hopes alive, so it's almost deserved in a way.
Yeah, and also we're a football podcast here, but, I'm a Kentucky Wildcat fan too, and that's not going so well in basketball either. So, there we are, guys.
You're having a great time.
Yeah. Gordon, your Packers, how you feeling about them right now?
I felt better last week, but Jameis Winston almost done it to us again. Every time he's played us 3 times before, he hasn't thrown an interception against us until last week. I think he had 7 touchdowns and no interceptions in the 3 previous games. One game, I think when he played for Saints, he threw 4 touchdown passes. Oh no, but I think that was during the Barry days, and he sucks as a coordinator. I think he's stacking groceries now.
Oh man, so we brought Dalton on here because Gage mentioned a few weeks back on the podcast. He had a few things. He had a few questions about the Pro Football Focus and, the grades and stuff. As you know, in like Sunday Night Football, they'll always show the PFF rank. They may have even showed it on the Amazon games as well at the beginning of the games when they introduce the players. And Gage, I will let you go ahead and start here. And Dalton, Gage was a little fired up, so he may fire away here. So here we go. Gage, you've got it.
Yeah, first of all, Dalton, thank you for taking the time for joining us tonight on this, 10:30 at night here on Thursday. I don't have the exact numbers pulled up, so I'm not going to rattle off any numbers. I've done that a couple weeks ago, and I got fired up, and there's no sense of getting fired up right now. But I guess just start it out, like, how do the rankings work in a sense of like what Brent said? You have the rankings at the bottom of the primetime intros, and it says PFF rank number out of bigger number. Is there like a minimum qualifications for each position? How does that all work out?
Yeah, I think the minimum qualifier, it's somewhere around 20% or 25% of basically the leading snap count for that position. So effectively, if it doesn't just include just the starters, guys who have played enough really to make a significant contribution. And that's something, honestly, I wouldn't hate seeing an asterisk or something there on the screen as well, just to go, okay, it's not out of every single guy that's gotten, 1 or 10 snaps this year. Generally, by the end of the year, you're talking about a guy's usually got to play about at least 200 to 250 snaps for the season to get even into that list, right? When you talk about, say, there's 40 left guards that have played. Okay, that may be true, but it goes down to a snap. I want to say it's around 25% or so, somewhere in there. So that's where that comes from. And the rankings themselves really are they come right from the grade rankings that you can see on PFF.com with a subscription. Right now, it's actually running 40% off with our promo code right now. But it's just one of those things where they'll just take the rankings off of the grades each week where they're at for the season, and they'll plug them into those rankings with that minimum snap qualifier.
So you mentioned the grades. How are the grades calculated? Obviously, there's different stats for each position. A quarterback's going to be different than a running back, different than the center, different than safety. How are those all taken in? And obviously, it's more than just like touchdown passes. It's more than just sacks. It's more than just touchdown receptions. What all is taken into consideration?
So this is the fun part for me because I actually did the grading myself for 3 years, NFL and college, and even a little bit of CFL because we got into doing that too. When you look at what we do, okay, behind the scenes, we go through every single play. We look at every single player. So if you have a run play, we're looking at those blocking assignments up front. We're looking at, things like broken tackles for running backs, or when you get to pass plays, the quality of the throw, the quickness of a pressure from a defensive end. All of those things get taken into account every single play. And we have our scale. There's plenty of articles that have been written about this. We have our scale basically that goes in half-point increments from -2 to +2. So you could get a 0 on any given play is actually neutral, right? It's kind of just like a guy doing his job to its most basic function, right? And then above and beyond that, say, a quarterback making a 12-yard throw on 3rd and 8 or something like that would be a more positive throw. You talk about big-time throws, those graded throws on the scale. So everything for each play, when the graders go through these games, and we go through them a second time on the All-22 just to make sure everything's right, because that's been one. Well, they use the TV copy. Well, on the initial run, yes, we do, but we make sure we go back and we get all 22 on all of these games, and we spend all night, Sunday night, and Monday morning going through the all 22 and fixing anything we need to fix also. So we don't come up with the graders. We don't come up with the final number. We have the input for each individual play. It goes into the system. We have our our behind the scenes, the data science team, and everybody puts together. They have the formula that goes into that and spits out the final number from everything we put in. But essentially, it's a representation, at least trying to standardize how much positive impact a player had over how much negative impact he had.
So then what is like a negative impact? If you have, we'll just use Jamar Chase because we have a Bengals fan up here. If he goes 5 catches, 135 yards, and 2 touchdowns, obviously that's going to get you a really good grade. But what is something besides spitting on another player that can get you that could get you like a negative play? Would it just be like a fumble? Or is it something like not chasing down a defender after they intercept the ball? Is it like that specific, or is it just, fumble or something like that can go in the stat?
No, it is pretty specific, and it's different for each position, right? The biggest one for something like receivers is going to be drops. So I'm going to scale back on here because when you look at real quick, so the 0 to 100 scale that we have, and if you want an idea of like how that gets standardized and how to look at it from the perspective of that scale, because I think in the past it's something that we haven't done a great job of explaining how this works. Basically, when you talk about the basic, like if a guy were to go through a whole game with no positive or negative grades for the entire game, he would be hovering right around a 60. Okay. The scale basically starts at 60. And then as you make more positive plays, you're moving towards the higher numbers and up towards hopefully 100 if you have a perfect game eventually, or you move down. Let's say you're Jamar Chase and you have a day where you're targeted 8 times and you only have 2 catches and 10 yards and 4 drops, right? Then you talk about, okay, that's something drastic, grading in the 30s. Just not that he would ever do that, of course, Brent, but it's just one of those things where that's where it starts to tip downward. So you start at 60. So let's just say a guy has if you have a grade just above, say in the mid to high 60s, you had a decent game, right? And what you have to break the habit of is it's not the grade school scale. It's not back in the day where a 60 was, hey, you're almost failing this class. You're almost not going to graduate. It's kind of the baseline there. So you get into the 70s and you're like a solid starter. In the 80s, you talk about for a season like Pro Bowl type guys are in the high 70s and 80s. And then the 90s up in there is like your Myles Garrett's and Jamar Chases and guys like that who are the elite players in football, right? So you have to think of it kind of like that. And then every single position, different variants of like, okay, this is what a guy did right. Or we have for quarterbacks, we have our turnover worthy plays that get downgraded really heavily, right? Guy who should have thrown an interception drop, we'll still count that against you, right? So there's a ton of different things for every position. That part about the scale and understanding what that looks like, that's something I've been trying to get out.
And just, excuse me, circling back to like 2 questions ago, you mentioned all these people that work behind the scenes at PFF to get the grades out. Obviously, you probably don't have the exact number off the top of your head, but if you have to give an estimate, how many people would you say look into the plays, look into the players to be like, yes, this person, we all agree, gets a 71.2 or whatever the case may be?
So that part that spits out the final number at this point, I mean, we have some data science people that have put together those formulas and things like that, but that part is pretty automated once we get to the very end of it. The manual part and the thing that just all of the graders and stuff are working on is the individual play-by-play basis of each game. To be honest with you, it's one of those things where it's like once that gets input, then the system and all of our stuff, all of our systems do what they do to bring out that final number, right? So there's a lot of times where, I think a lot of people think that, like one of the graders will go in and we'll watch the whole game and we'll just decide what like I would do a game and just decide give this guy a 74. That's not how it works. It's again, it's all inputs and everything we input as far as positive grades and negative plays. And then, certain little things do matter, right? If it's, somebody has a 150-yard game, he's going to have a hard time with his grade downgrading like that. He's very, very rare that you're going to see a guy grading a 50 with a stat line like that or something. But there are times when what we try to do with the film is get those hidden plays in there, right? So we've had this with Patrick Mahomes a lot this year where it's like, well, was it the Raiders game that caused so much controversy? It was like, yeah, he made some good throws, but he also had like 3 interceptions, like clear-cut interceptions that were dropped, right? So we try to find those things. And then again, as far as the final number goes, there's not one singular person that puts that out there. That's the output from everything that we put in on a play-by-play basis.
And then one last question for me off the top of the head, then I'll turn it over to Brent and Gordon. There's a lot of backlash on social media when it comes to PFF and fans of certain teams seeing grades for their players. Overall, the main thing that counts for a team is the wins, obviously, but you want to see your players be graded high as well by the professionals PFF. So when it comes to like a certain team, this player has this many sacks, but they were rated whatever. Like I said, don't have numbers off the top of my head, so I can't really give prime examples. And then there's another team, I'll say the name, Myles Garrett, who a lot of people, they get almost gotchas, as I've seen the term used a lot, and it's pretty funny to me. And he gets a really high grade. But you look at the stat sheet and it's like, all right, he had 2 tackles and that's it. But is it because he has a really high pressure rate? Is it because he has a high double team or a chip rate compared to other players? What's the reasoning, I guess you could say, with that?
That's the fun part. I know the Steelers fan in you. I know the debate you're getting into, because this is maybe our most famous one. This is the fun one, the Garrett versus Watt thing. And the stance that I take on the debate itself is, look, they're both going to the Hall of Fame, no question. Mm-hmm. I mean, so and which, believe me, we got nothing against either of them. And the first thing as a grader you're taught is that, hey, if you have any bias in this thing, you're out of here. So that part, I promise you, is not an issue. But no, there's a lot more that goes into it when you talk about the grading, because pressures can come at any point of the play, right? If a quarterback like Jalen Hurts is holding the ball for 8 seconds, right, you could get a pressure, but it could be 7 seconds into it, and you're talking about, okay, that doesn't get as highly graded. When you talk about a high pass rush grade, yeah, it's high pass rush win rate. That is a part. Pressure rate can play a part into that. Total pressures is something we look at, maybe even a little more so than sacks. And I'm not saying sacks aren't important, but if you have only 1 pressure the entire game and it's a sack, that's cool, but more consistent impact matters too. And something else we look at with the pass rush grading is how quickly did you win, right? If Myles Garrett's beating this right tackle in a second and a half, he gets a higher grade than if it took him 3 to 4 seconds, or if it's because the quarterback is holding the football too long, right? So there's a lot of that nuance that goes into it, especially when we look at it the second time on the All-22. So, again, it's understanding the grade scale and what is actually good or bad, but there's more nuance that goes into it just than, the box score. How many tackles did he have? Or how many sacks did he have that day? So a lot of times it will. Like the other day, Myles Garrett has 4 sacks. You can bet he graded a 90 because he was whooping the Ravens all night. He was. But there's other times when guys they have 6 pressures, but you got to dig in and see why. And that's why the tape watch is so fun, because you get that nuance to it.
And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize. Like, you could just Google Myles Garrett stats, and the first thing that comes up, you see tackles for loss, and sacks, maybe interceptions on it as well. And people just take that and are like, all right, well, he didn't do nearly as good as Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, because, he had no sacks. Well, these guys had 1.5 sacks, or whatever the case may be. And people don't realize that there's these more in-depth metrics that go into it. Like you mentioned, pressure rate, time to the quarterback, and everything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think a big one with Garrett was actually more so because, like, this game against the Ravens where he just had 4 sacks, yeah, you can watch that. I could watch that without even grading it myself and be like, yeah, that guy's grading like a 90-something. He's the best player on the field. But there was a game earlier this year against your Steelers, actually, when the Steelers beat the Browns, and Garrett came out of that game with a high 80s or maybe a 90 grade, but it was like, what's the deal? He had like 2 pressures and maybe, I don't know, a couple of tackles, whatever it was. And they were like, how did Myles Garrett grade so high? And part of it is, look, Aaron Rodgers gets rid of the ball quickly, or the Steelers, I should say, smartly. When you watch their game plan, everything was about, hey, stay away from Myles Garrett because he's whooping Broderick Jones or he's whooping Troy Fautanu, whichever side that he's on, he's winning those battles. So in the grading, when we make the individual grades, it may be away from the ball, but we're still grading those things. And if Garrett is blowing by, Broderick Jones in 1.2 seconds and Rodgers just gets rid of the ball before he can get there and get the pressure, we still give Garrett basically the same positive grade on that, right? So it's just one of those things where the counting stats, is it going to correlate? Sure, but there are going to be times where guys are dominant. I think this happens more in run defense, say with a great defensive tackle. I think about, Una Ford or somebody like that for the Rams, right? Where it's like, man, he was really highly graded. He had a 90 grade and all of this, but he had like one tackle. Like, how is he that good? Because he was causing disruption, right? That's a big thing with defensive line. So there's more nuance that goes into it. We don't just look at, how many tackles did this guy have? That's his grade. That's not how it works for us.
I do want to throw it back real quick. I'm pretty sure anybody can whoop Broderick Jones out there on the field, but that's beside the point. I'll turn it over. Brent, Gordon, if you guys have any questions, feel free. Jump on in here.
So I'm surprised, Gage, it took you that long to get around to your last question that actually brought up this whole conversation to begin with, and that was the Myles Garrett grade compared to a certain player that you didn't want to mention, but we all know who you were talking about. But Dalton, you mentioned like you all grade like Sunday night. You watch all 22 Monday. Like, how many games do you get like assigned to that you watch and you actually grade?
So I don't do it anymore, but when I was usually getting two or three full games of college on Saturdays too, because we have our whole staff doing college football on Saturdays also. And then Sunday, it was usually, I think I would usually only get one on Sundays, and then I would help out with the reviews. Because also what we do too is not just the grading. We have quarterback charting, we have coverage charting, we got offensive line work, the pass rush and run blocking, extra work and charting that goes into that, formations and motions and shifts and all that stuff. There's like, when you talk about between a Sunday and Monday for NFL, I think it's 12 or 13 different processes we go through with all 22 included. Special teams stuff, we got special teams guys that specialize in that and grade special teams and what's going on there. It's a lot that goes into it, but generally, and I got to help out later as I was doing that before I moved over to content on like the passing side. Really, I got to start reviewing and getting a high level stuff of quarterbacks and receivers and coverage and things like that. That was kind of my specialty. But yeah, I would say it would be like 2 or 3 college games, one, maybe even some Sundays, 2 NFL games, depending on the slate, and then helping out all the way through right up until like Monday at noon. That's when everything gets finalized there, just with a bunch of different processes on that.
And I was just looking at some of the PFF grades here, and I've got a question about one of them. Kenneth Walker is the number 1 running back right now on PFF, right?
I thought he was. I think I looked at this earlier. He might be second, or is he second behind Jonathan Taylor? I know he's high up there, and that's. I certainly know how to explain that, and that's part of the debate of Seattle getting the man more touches for sure, and for my fantasy team. Yeah, overall he's number 1 right now. Yeah,
because I was like, okay, I didn't see Jonathan Taylor up there close to the top, and I'm like, how is that? Because you watch the two and you're like, okay, Jonathan Taylor, definitely. I mean, I think he's an MVP candidate, but he's not number 1 in his position on PFF.
Yeah, so the overall grading, so when you talk about that for running backs too, this is the fun part. So the rushing grade, Jonathan Taylor is number 1 pretty easily, right? But Walker, when you talk about like the efficiency when he gets the football, the tackles that he does break and the explosive runs he makes happen with actually more limited work than Taylor, really good as a rusher, second in rushing grade there, and adds a little bit more as a receiver. So when you look at all of the things that go in for running backs, when you look at the overall grade, it's the rushing and the receiving and the pass protection too, those reps that they're getting. So that kind of gets combined all into one. Taylor is the best rusher by actually a pretty good margin here. But the other thing I'll say with the grade scale, and this is something that's become controversial too, is that, so you see, like I have here that Kenneth Walker's at an 86 and Jonathan Taylor's at an 84.6. Like a 1 to 1.5 point difference, to be honest, is really negligible. Like when you look at, I'll take the top 5 backs here: Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Bijan Robinson. That's pretty close to, other than maybe Walker, depending on what you feel. I would like to see him get more volume there in Seattle. That's basically the best backs in the league, right? And I think when you're looking at this, if one guy, Jonathan Taylor and James Cook, Taylor's got 84.6, Cook has 84.3. That's basically the same thing. If you get into a difference of like If Walker was way up there and Taylor had like a 74, then I'd go, all right, something's up there, right? Something might be a little, but when it's within like a couple of points, especially for the season long, that's only maybe 3 or 4 plays that could make a difference in that. It's pretty negligible. I think to look at it in tiers more than anything might be a better way to look at it as opposed to, oh, we think Walker is better than Taylor. We don't. I don't think, trust me, I don't think Kenneth Walker is better than Jonathan. And that's not what it's supposed to portray. The grades are just a reflection of the tape. And sometimes with smaller samples like Walker has, that can get tilted a little bit more if he's playing really well within that small sample.
And does like the grades like on say like Kenneth Walker has a better grade than Jonathan Taylor, of course, but does that like the positions around him, does that factor into his grade as well?
It's an attempt to really individualize it. But also when looking at it, that's the thing is, so if you just look at a guy's grade, like Kenneth Walker, if you just look at his overall grade and go, he's the best running back in football, there it is. No, you're doing it wrong. That's not how that works, right? And it's accounting for what he has to work with almost has to be kind of inferred. And you have to go into, okay, the Seahawks offensive line grades and the Colts offensive line grades and how much yards after contact does he have to make, or how many tackles does he have to break and things like that. There's so many different things. Like to think that you can define a player into just one number like that. Yeah, that's not how that works. I'll sit here and tell you that's not what the grades are for, you know? And again, the difference between an 84 and an 86 is it's just about nothing, honestly. I think it's just one of those things where then you go, okay, why does Jonathan Taylor, why is he the best? Because then you scroll over. Taylor's got a better rushing grade. All right. Walker does, he's been a little more efficient as a receiver, or maybe he has less drops as a receiver. That all goes into it too. So it's never just like one number you can look at and go, this guy's better than this one, at least not when it's that small. If it's a bigger difference, just a name I'm looking at here. Tyler Algier, let's say he's like a 73. Okay, that big of a difference, I can go, okay, those two guys are better than Tyler Algier. But that's small. We could sit here and have those debates for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned that you got Kenneth Walker as your fantasy back. Me and Gage actually have Zach Charbonnet, so we're hoping that he might not get as many touches as Walker.
Well, but the funny part is I have Charbonnet also on the bench, figuring, okay, this is like the best handcuff in football. But then he steals all the touchdowns, and every week I start Walker, and I get irritated that Charbonnet is on the bench with more points he's scoring. Man, it kills me. It's like my number one thing right now is I have both of them, and I have no idea what to do with them. It kills me.
Yeah. So, Gordon, do you got any questions for PFF grades there for Dalton?
Yeah, I got
a Packer fan, by the way.
Yeah. About the PFF grades. Okay, you may have mentioned it. Apologize if I missed it. On pass rush, is it noticed? Is there a grade given if the player gets held? Because I've seen my guy gets held all the time. TJ Watt gets held all the time, and so does Trey Hendrickson when he's playing. But if they don't get there, it's because they get held by the offensive lineman blatantly. Does that add into the factor in?
Yeah, actually it does. Look, if let's say Micah Parsons, just for your example there, let's just say, he does, he beats the tackle pretty easily, and the tackle's got to put him in a chokehold to, and get a holding penalty just to prevent the sack. We will grade Parsons basically this, whether he gets the sack or he gets held or not for winning that quickly. Yeah, he will still get absolutely the positive grade, and probably a heavy one at that for beating his man and then forcing that call. And then the offensive lineman, for the fact that he did hold, we was a heavy downgrade for penalties too. So that gets factored in as well for the offensive tackle. But definitely something that prevents a pressure because it's a holding call. We still get credit we give credit for the quality of the wins. That's why, even example, Myles Garrett, he's second behind Parsons in pass rush grade, but he's got 13 less pressures with more pressures. But because Garrett wins so quickly and so often, the quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball because they know he's coming, or Garrett's got to get held so you can have any way to block him. That's going to be the idea. The grade is still going to be the quality of the win, the speed of that win. And if he gets held, that's just unfortunate because that's a reason that he would get a sack prevented from him.
Now, as far as the other one, I don't have to ask this. I kind of know. You said drops by wide receivers or a big drop. Every one of my receivers has probably got a big freaking F. They drop more passes than any team I've ever seen. Romeo Dobbs has to be about a 15. He had 5 big drops last week, I think.
Yeah, I know it's certainly not great there.
Yeah, that's about all I had. I mean, most of my team's pretty bad.
Yeah, the drops, the Packers drop thing is it's certainly not great.
I had one more thing about it. Isaiah Rodgers. Has anybody heard anything else out of Rodgers since his Bengals game? What a game that was for him, PFF wise.
No, certainly was. I mean, I know he certainly. I mean, actually, it was the first perfect grade that we've ever given out in an NFL game. I don't even know if I have to go back and check and see if we've ever done it in college. But no, he's been a little more up and down since then, and he's adjusting obviously to being in a more starting role there in Minnesota, and it's been a tough year so far there in Minnesota. But no, that was just an incredible game, honestly. And I actually think, what is it? We worked with his agent or somebody that we got him actually custom cleats made to commemorate that. It was like a whole thing on the shoes. Isaiah Rodgers, 99.9. I don't know if he's actually worn them in a game or not. He got them like a couple weeks ago, I think. But we actually had a commemorative pair of cleats made for the first ever perfect grade in PFF history. So no, it was cool to see that, watching it live. What was it? He forced 2 fumbles plus the pick 6. I know you don't want to hear about all this.
That's not cool to see for me.
It's one of those ones. There's certain guys though that have certain days where you just, even Garrett the other day with the 4 sacks, and it's like, even I don't do it anymore myself, but I'm like, man, that's going to come out with a sick grade. I know it is. It's going to come out. I didn't think it would be perfect. I didn't think it was possible. Honestly, 20 years into this, it was the first one it's ever been. It was just incredible.
Yeah, he had a day for sure. And I'm sure you watch these games a little bit different than how we do, because you're like, well, this guy is going to get a good grade here. I don't know. That grade may be a little bit less than what it would be. I'd say you watch it a little bit from a different lens than what we do. Say.
Yeah, I mean, and here and there I do that, but to be honest with you, like I used to coach high school ball. I was a coach for between like youth football and high school for like 8 years. So I still at the core of it all, despite, I think that's the one thing sometimes that people debating analytics can lose, or even our grades can lose, because that's all individual grades and we have team grades too. But it's like, hey, this game is still about winning and losing, right? I still love the part when I turn a game on. I want to know, what the offensive coordinator is trying to do. I want to know where the safeties are lined up. I want to know why we're in this front, right? I still watch the game like I'm a coach watching tape back in the day, right? That sort of thing. And that's how I'm going to approach it. Now, if there's a guy dominating, yeah, I'm going to have an idea in my head, because I did that for 4 years too. But it's one of those things where like I'm still trying to figure out, okay, what is going to work against this defense, or why is the offensive line not picking these things up? That's still the scope of it, because at the end of the day, it is about winning and losing, right? And I think that's the one thing we can't lose sight of is, our grades and everything, they're going to correlate. And a lot of times they're going to correlate really strongly. If your team over a season-long stretch grades really well, they're probably going to be pretty good. And if they lose a bunch of games, well, you're going to get into random factors like turnovers and things like that, or situational football, close games, right? Look at the Chiefs with all their close games they won last year and the close games they're losing this year, right? Those can all make a difference. But I really still watch a game like I want to see in sequence how this team is winning this football game.
Yeah, and right now Texans are winning 26-13 or 23-16. Josh Allen's been sacked 6 times tonight, so I'm sure that Houston defense is going to probably grade out pretty well.
Boy, those 2 defensive ends, I look to my right here. I see Danielle Hunter again. I'm like, man, oh man, it's just those 2 guys are unreal. It's if they can just score enough and block enough on offense to get this going, this defense is unbelievable.
And I don't know, but they look better with Davis Mills than they did with C.J. Stroud so far.
He's been good. I think the big thing is they've really gotten a hold of, okay, this offensive line is in a better rhythm. I'll tell you, if they go 3-0 with Davis Mills as their starter and saves their season, I mean, credit to him. That guy's darn near the MVP of at least the offensive side of their team right now. But obviously there's no controversy there. Stroud is your guy. But I like the way they're blocking a little bit better lately. And again, this defense, man, it is. They're man.
Woody Marks is running pretty good out there too. They're looking better with him out there. We'll see how it goes. But, Gage, you got anything else for Dalton PFF-wise or Gordon?
I just a funny comment. It's not really a real question. But if you ever figure out what Arthur Smith is trying to do at offensive coordinator, please let me know, because I'm still trying to figure it out like 2 years into it here.
The only thing I'll say to that, it is very hard. There's a lot of teams like this. The Texans they've been one of them. They've been better lately, but it's very hard when you can't block people, especially off the edges. I mean, it's the offense more so than Rodgers and the age and all of that. I'll tell you, heading into the season, I was screaming this: offensive tackles, offensive tackles, offensive tackles. And I think at the end of the day, what Smith wants to do is run all the outside zone stuff, run all the stretch like the Shanahans and the McVays of the world do, and he wants to get off tackle. When you don't have the tackles that allow you to do that, it just, the play calling gets harder, and they're trying to work around it, but they still need help on that offensive line. That's the biggest hindrance to any offensive play caller, is if their offensive line isn't up to snuff.
And I think a big part has to do with, like, you got Jaylen Warren. He's a good running back. He's great after contact, but he's not a Christian McCaffrey. He's not a Derrick Henry, what Arthur Smith had down in Tennessee. He's not that giant guy that's just going to run you over. He's kind of more your outside, get him to speed. But at the same point, let's get some people in here that can block, man. It's hard. It's difficult, and I hate it.
And to your point, look, that Tennessee team, Henry was obviously great, might be in the Hall of Fame. That Tennessee team had a great offensive line, Taylor Lewan, Jack Conklin, those guys. That Atlanta team, Chris Lindstrom and those guys, terrific offensive line. It's a hell of a lot easier to coach on the flip side when you got an offensive line like that, right? We've seen that in Detroit. We've seen it with Philly, some other places, right? It gets a lot easier when you know those guys can block and you have a premier back like that. No, I like Warren a lot. I like what Kenneth Gainwell has given you in a couple of these. The Minnesota game, he was awesome, but week in and week out, they've got to block better in order to open things up for those guys.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, I don't know how many rushing yards they average per game, but I know, like, last week when Kenneth Gainwell took over, I think he got 24 yards on the ground, and that's it. All in the second half. I think Warren had one touch, which was not good to look at, but to have 2 receiving touchdowns against a certain team, it's like, all right, hey, I guess it kind of makes up for it.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And that gets factored in when we evaluate these backs. I mean, that's always the fun part. It's like, some guys are just great receivers, and that's fine. And you got to find a way to use those guys. Andy Reid's been the best at that with, God, how many running backs has he had over the years, right? And some of, like Jerick McKinnon, it felt like he never got a carry. He was basically a receiver, right?
And then one last question. When it comes to Darnell Washington, do you guys grade him based on lying about his weight? Because he's listed at like 265. He just said on the St. Brown podcast the other day he's 311. So
that's the Bengals defense about Darnell Washington trying to tackle him.
It's just I don't even know what to say with him at a certain point, because even at 270 or whatever, it was impressive enough, right? And he's coming out of Georgia, and you're like, man, this guy's kind of a freak. Like Loki, like I was in the boat of, after a while, I was like, man, should this guy be your left tackle? Like, is that really what I mean? Look at the athleticism, right? The size. He's still only 20. Like, I was in the mindset before maybe last week, and what he did to the Bengals was just, I don't even know what to say about that. It's at 310 pounds. Yeah, that's fair. But I was really in the boat. I was like, man, if this thing doesn't work at tight end, I might try him at left tackle. I might just do it. And I think, honestly, big and strong as he is, I think he could do it. I think, wasn't that the original run for Lane Johnson? Didn't he go to Oklahoma as a tight end? And then he switched him to tackle. And maybe he's Lane Johnson. I don't know. You could use one of those too. If he's going to get after it, running after the catch like that, I get it. Leave him out there in space. I wouldn't. If I was a corner, if I was whoever, was it DJ Turner or whoever, I wouldn't want to tackle him either. No way.
It took like him.
They were making business decisions out there, and I could see why.
That's one, oftentimes defensive guys get criticized for that. That's one I might agree with. I'll be honest. I might agree with that one. When it's a back that's 220, it's kind of your job to tackle him. But I mean, that's a freight train. What are you supposed to do with that? If you're a corner, I'm not hitting that thing either. No way.
A couple weeks ago, when Geno Stone just lays a shoulder into, or was it Jordan Battle just lays a shoulder into Colston Loveland, I was like, okay, you can wrap up. I understand when you don't against Washington. That's a totally different animal.
If you're wrapping up, you're hoping it's just an ankle, maybe.
And even then, we're going to drag you along for a couple extra.
Boy, oh boy. No, that is a freak of nature. I mean, and you love to watch it in the NFL, because it's like, we can't even relate to it. Certain guys, Myles Garrett, Darnell Washington, certain even receivers out there, Jamar Chase. I mean, some of these guys are freaks of nature, man. It's crazy.
And you have to wonder, like, how what are they feeding them? Because, like, there's no way that they should just be like this.
And he keeps getting underutilized in Pittsburgh. I mean, they don't throw to him enough.
No, I get it. I mean, but you got to be able to block, and and obviously he can help with that. But also, if he's sitting and helping in pass protection, then you don't get that part. So I mean, it's tough, and the lack of depth at receiver too. I mean, it's DK Metcalf, and I mean, is Darnell Washington your number 2 receiver? Is that where we're at now too? I mean, just line him up out wide and let it rip. I mean, I get it. These are the things that make running an offense really, really hard.
And it feels like Darnell is kind of the number 2. You've seen several times where they just line them up like at the top, and it's like, all right, we're throwing this to you. Everyone else out here is a decoy. Rodgers is taking it, throwing a fade, and making you make a play.
Yep. That's not where he loves those one-on-one matchups.
Well, Dalton, we thank you for coming on the show. If you want to stick around and do our picks with us, you can. I know it's late, but it's all up to you. It's whatever you want to do. We're gonna probably banter back a little bit or whatnot. But hey,
I could make some picks. I'll take the picks that I made on my show if I can memorize them all. I can do that. Let's make some picks. I want to hear what you guys have for this week's games. Clearly, no bias here, obviously. And I'll tell you, with me, I'm not picking the Jets to win. I'll tell you right now, Jet fan. I'm not doing it. The Ravens are beating us. It's fine. We only beat teams from the state of Ohio. So I'm taking that theory and running with it. We got our 2 wins over the Ohio teams. It's not good. And I know the Ravens technically are a former Ohio team, but I'm not counting that. It's not going to count.
Well, before we get into our picks, though, we do, we're going to banter a little bit here. So, Gage, last week, let's go over our picks here real quick from last week. We just do straight up picks is what we went. Gage went 8-6. I went 10-4. Gordon was 9-5. Obviously, we don't pick the Thursday night game because, we record during Thursday nights. And the Bills look like they may come back and win this game with 2:44 left in it. They got the ball and down 4. But, so Gordon's catching up. He's almost there where I am now, coming up from behind there. And Gage, you're just, you haven't hit the 100 mark yet, man.
No, you know what? We're just chilling. We're way above 500, so we're above Pittsburgh standard, which is very nice. But 98, there's still a couple weeks left. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Still got time to come back, and I just can't let Gordon beat me. That's all that there is I cannot let Gordon beat me this season.
My team's already beat you once. But I did pick his team against Indy.
You did call that one. So, Jamar Chase gets suspended for a game. That was well-deserved. He earned that one, for sure.
Yeah, what else you got to say about it? Because I think I remember sending you the video of the spit, and your reaction being, that's AI, or that didn't happen, or something like that, trying to deny it.
It's kind of like the old Seinfeld, magic loogie theory there. I need another angle with somebody in the grassy knoll over here. We really don't know where the loogie came from at that point in time until we got definitive footage. So until then, I was hesitant.
He could have coughed, and it just flew out of his mouth.
Yeah, it may have
It's happened.
May have happened.
I've done it.
It comes out,
But I'm not too sure that, I understand coughing and talking and it just comes out, right? But not something that looks like you went and spit on someone, because that's how big the loogie was.
Evidently,
he didn't spit on nobody. I think that's what was said after the game.
Evidently, you need to go back and watch some of the old WWE videos when Sergeant Slaughter talked. Everything come out of his mouth looked like big loogies.
They didn't call him Sergeant Slobber for anything back then. But so I mean, he's we don't need to talk anymore about that game. It's over with. It's done. Packers played last week as well. But Gordon, they got a win there.
Yeah, they got a win. Yeah, they got a win. Like I said, I told you before, I'm kind of surprised to beat Jameis Winston because they can't beat shit teams. So, I mean, Cleveland beat us and Carolina beat us. We tied Dallas. I just figured we was going to lose that game. But I called it right. I said they're going to win but not cover, and they sure as hell didn't. Yeah, the Green Bay Droppers, I'm going to call them that until they learn how to catch the damn ball. Or until Jaden Reed's coming back because he actually doesn't drop passes. Broken collarbones. Anyway, here's something I got for you, Dalton. When you coached, was your specialty offense or defense?
I did a little of both. I started on offense. I specialized a little more on offense, coaching like quarterbacks and receivers. But I got into defense a little bit. We were a little short-staffed down in St. Pete for this, so I coached some secondary and a little bit of linebackers too.
Well, good. And you got the need from both my teams. Go to Green Bay, put an application in, rip the damn playbook out of Matt LaFleur's hands, and then coach the 3 defensive backs we got and the wide receiver masking as a cornerback, and we might actually be able to do something because Matt LaFleur, one thing he wants to do is run up the middle from shotgun on 4th and 2.
Hey, look, let me tell you something about that too. I also have Josh Jacobs on my fantasy team, and I was up by like 1 point before that fumble, and that fumble cost me my matchup. 2 weeks ago. That thing, I clawed all the way back. The touchdown gave me the lead, and I was like, as long as he doesn't fumble, I have this win. I lost to the worst team in our league that week because of that fumble. It killed me. It killed me. I was distraught. It was awful.
Let me give you some advice what I did. Anybody that's got the Packers logo beside their name, I love the team. That's my team. But every one of them's riding the pine. After Tucker Kraft went out, every one of them's riding the pine. Except for the defense, because they actually get me points.
Yeah.
You know, they're normally, 6.5, 5.5 points. They normally get you 7 or 8. More than what you're supposed to get. I'll take it.
Well, Gage, since we're talking fantasy here, let's go ahead and let's cue it up. Let's do the segment where we talk about who's injured on your fantasy team this week.
From turf to tears, it's injury fears. Who's sidelined this week in Gage's fantasy sphere?
Yeah, so Dalton, a little background on this one. Last year, my fantasy team, injury after injury after injury after injury. And it's mainly because I kept going to the Niners well and kept going after the running backs. I think I had every single running back on that team at one point last year, and it was awful. This year, we're kind of turning it around a little bit, have a little bit of good luck. Looking at it right now, we did take the win last week. It was very close. Very close. And I think I mentioned on this show that the guy I was going against was without like 3 players. He had C.J. Stroud starting, James Conner starting, and one other guy that was hurt. And I still only won by like 15. That came a lot from Kamani Vidal just having his bad game. Like I've said he would. I said he was going to have a bad game, and I was still like, let's start him because why not? When it comes to the injury list, we got the only one this week, Lamar Jackson. He was questionable yesterday with an ankle injury. However, just showing up that full participant this week. So sorry, Dalton, but he's going to be starting this week against the Jets.
They would beat us with Tyler Huntley. I'm not worried about it. No stress.
They might start Cooper Rush at that point. You never know.
Well, hold up now. Then we might have a shot. I like the way Huntley looked. Which game was it that he? Which game did he win? I can't remember what game it was, who they were playing. But Tyler Huntley looked good that day. I forget which game it was, but he gives you a little bit of something. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the Pro Bowler will give you a little bit of something. Still don't know how that's. Yeah, I know. He's got that pro.
How could you not believe in a Pro Bowler? Come on, you got a Pro Bowl backup. What better could you do than that?
I mean, it's just like having Kirk Cousins as your backup down in Atlanta. They're set for the rest of the season down there with Penix out, right?
Yeah.
They're set. They're set. They're set somewhere.
As far as the rest of the team goes, looking pretty healthy. And actually, using ESPN Fantasy, we have a lot of green matchups this week. We're looking forward to it. Probably means we're going to do awful this week and lose. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 greens, which is awesome. However, Patriots fans out there, you might be hating me after this week because we put in a waiver claim last week to regain Travion Henderson, and it went through. Starting running back next to Aaron Jones, and defensive-wise, we dropped the Colts defense because they're on a bye. It's the defense. They're probably not going to be picked up by anybody. We sat the Texans defense because it's against the Bills. Josh Allen just scored, 5, 6 touchdowns last week? He's going to go off again. Yeah, well, they're sitting on the bench with 13 points, and instead, we're starting Cleveland's defense this week against the Raiders. I think it's a good trade-off. If Myles Garrett has another 4 or 5 sack game, all right, I think it's pretty good. And, with we got Geno Smith at quarterback for the Raiders, not the same Geno that he has been previous years. He's throwing a lot of picks. He's making a lot of incompletions out there. I think we're looking good, though. 14 points with an interception, fumble recovery, and 19 points allowed from the Texans defense would be a pretty good way to start out the week, especially when my opponent has James Cook starting at 21.9 points.
Nice.
Yeah, as you were going on that, I just watched the Texans get their 8th sack of the night. That's tough. Yeah, I mean, look, actually, the Browns are a good play though. I'm in on that because Geno's been turning the ball over. That could still work for you, but yeah, this one here, this is some performance they're putting on.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened because it went from 13 to 14 while I was in the middle of talking. So I was like, what just happened?
For a first down and more.
Look at Joe Brady. What a call. Wow.
Man. Apparently the last team he beat was the Chicago Bears.
That was the game. It was the Bears game. It was.
Last quarterback to beat the Bears. So, yeah. All right. So that's your fantasy injuries this week. So let's get into them and let's get into our picks. Gage, let's start it out here. We've got the Patriots going to Cincinnati to face the Bengals at 1 o'clock on CBS. The Patriots are a 7-point favorite in this one. Gage, I don't know. Burrow, is he playing? Is he not playing? Does it matter? What do you think?
I feel like it doesn't matter. I don't know if he's playing. I doubt he's playing. I don't see why they would play him, even if he was fully healthy and fully ready to continue on-field football activities. No Jamar Chase this week. You know the Patriots are going to have Christian Gonzalez follow T. Higgins or wherever the heck he goes this week. They might double him. They might trust Gonzo to just take him one-on-one. Gonzalez is a great corner. He's the only corner, I want to say, this season without a missed tackle. And unlike the Bengals defense, that's actually pretty good. And I just don't trust Cincinnati really on either side of the ball this week. Patriots have that dark magic back. It's almost like Big Bill and Tom Brady are back there again. I'm going to go with the Patriots, and I'm going to take them to cover the 7-point spread.
Dalton, who do you like in this matchup?
I've got the Patriots covering also. I think they win big here, especially with if you had Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow in there, maybe I'd go, okay, this is going to be a tighter game because, you know, the Bengals obviously a lot better with both him and Higgins both healthy and all of that when all three of them are on the field. But this defense, man, I don't have to explain it to you. I've seen it in person. We watch it every week. It's a mess. I love the way the Pats are getting Travion Henderson going. I think they get a pretty easy win and cover also.
Hey, Gordon, what are you thinking?
As bad as I hate to say, you know, you're my brother from another mother. They ain't covering this shit. New England will probably win by 14, and I don't want that for you, but I can't help to think that.
Yeah, I don't think it matters if Joe Burrow comes back or not in this game right here. You can have Joe Flacco, Joe Burrow. It doesn't matter. Joe Burrow doesn't play defense, and that's where the main issue is with the Cincinnati Bengals at this point in time. You're missing Jamar Chase, which is going to hurt. Like you said, Gonzalez is going to flank, Higgins all game long. But the Patriots are they just keep winning. Just keep winning. Travion Henderson's finally getting going. I mean, he's looking like what we thought he would be at the start of the year. And Mike Vrabel's got something going on in New England. And I think the Patriots win, and I also like the Patriots to cover this one, unfortunately. So, hey, Thanksgiving next week when we come in here. We'll record before that, but the Ravens and the Bengals, that'll be such a great Thanksgiving night to end my Thanksgiving day. So can't wait for that. 3-8 Bengals. Let's go. Who day, right? Who day. All right. Next matchup we got. Just the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Chicago to face the Chicago Bears. 1 o'clock on CBS. Chicago's a 2.5-point favorite. Gage, Aaron Rodgers, maybe a little banged up. What do we think here?
Aaron Rodgers a little bit banged up. No surgery required for his left wrist, which is nice, though it is still a fracture. But it's at Chicago, and we all know that he co-owns the Bears. So I feel like if there's any way that Rodgers could play this week, he's going to play. And the way that Mason played last week, coming in, filling in for Aaron, I feel confident that even if it happens that Rodgers has to come out or Mason has to start, that it's going to go good. Now, if you watch all of the passes that Mason completed last week, over half of his completions were either checkdowns to Gainwell or a screen pass to either Metcalf or Washington. He had a couple throws downfield. One was short to DK. One was called pass interference on DK, and one was thrown a little bit behind Jonnu Smith, who luckily just batted it away and did not let Cincinnati have a chance at picking it. I'm going to do what I've been doing the past couple weeks. I think Pittsburgh will win. However, I'm going to do a little bit of switch this way I can get a win somewhere, either in real life or on the podcast. I'm going to go with Chicago. Going to go with the favorites. It's at home. Someone tells me Roma Dunze is going to go off, even with the way that the Steelers' defense has looked. Kyle Duggar finally getting one last week. He should have had 2 pick sixes if we're really looking at it. But I'm going to go with the Bears, unfortunately. Sorry about it, Gordon, but the Bears are going to continue on their little reign of terror they got going on. And, Chicago, and they cover.
The Texans just got a pick on 4th down, but there's a flag on the field, and I think it's on the Texans. So the Bills are still alive with 18 seconds. It's a pass interference.
Wow.
The game is over.
Wow. What a win, man. What a win. Unbelievable. What a defense. What a win. That was unreal.
That's even more points, Gage.
That's real tough to have Texans D on your bench right there. That is a tough night. man. Anyway, Steelers Bears. I think we got a good game here. I think there is a little bit of that Aaron Rodgers versus the Bears factor and all of that. That spread is, I think, about right to me. I have the Bears by 3 points in this game. And the bigger thing, more so than the two quarterbacks, and Caleb's going to have to be able to deal with some pressure here. It's going to be a really fun battle with the Bears O-line and then TJ Watt and the Steelers D-line. But I think the Bears' ability, this newfound ability to run the football and their ability, I think, to get lateral with these outside zone schemes. The Steelers' run defense, I think, when I watch them, it struggles to get lateral. They struggle to defend those east and west runs. I think that's right where Ben Johnson wants to go. I have the Bears by 3 points here.
Hey, Gordon.
To be honest with you, just for a sense of pride, I know I picked him, but I told you fourth. I was like, gave you like a puke emoji. Hated it. I cannot pick the bum suckers this week. I got the Steelers win. I will not pick the bum suckers. Aaron Rodgers has got to go collect his rent from his tenants. He's got to go pick it up. Remember, I told you. He said it to him.
Your whole lot.
You're damn right.
Hey, I'll tell you, I lived in Chicago 5 years, and that works the same way the other way. If you get a diehard Bears fan picking a Packer game, they're going to be like, no way, can't do it. They're going 0-17. It's the same way in Chicago the other way, man.
Oh, no, I've actually picked him. I picked him, and I picked the Lions and the Vikings. Just this week, no. Because Daddy's coming home. He's picking up his rent, and he's going to go home. Just kidding, I don't know, but I want the Steelers to win this game.
So I have picked, actually, you're going to be surprised, but when you hear this, Dalton, every week this week, I've picked the Steelers to win as a Bengals fan. I'm not doing it this week. Forget it. I wasn't too impressed with the Steelers last week. I think that was more of an indictment on how awful the Bengals were offensively and defensively. The Bears are looking pretty good now. Got a 4-game winning streak. They're at home. I know Rodgers owns them. Their whole life he's owned them. I know this. But he's got a bad wrist. The guy doesn't even have 2 healthy wrists at this point in time. If you've ever had a fractured wrist, it's hard to do things with. Even if you're, it's your offhand. Give me the Bears in this one. I think the Bears cover. I'm with you, Dalton. I think 3 points is right about where it's at. Well, I think it's going to be a really good game. And
he only needs one hand to spank him.
That's true. That's our next matchup. We'll stay in the NFC North here, and we've got the New York Giants traveling to Detroit to face the Lions at 1 o'clock on Fox. Detroit's a 10-point favorite. Dalton, who you like in this one?
To me, actually, I think Lions games are some of the easiest to analyze nowadays. If you think they can run the football, you pick them to win and probably handily. And if you think they're not going to run the football well, then you pick them to lose. The Giants' run defense has been awful. That 10-point spread there, I think they're actually covering that. I know it's a big spread in an NFL game. I've actually got the Lions by 20+ in this game. I think you get certain games, a couple of games every year in Detroit that the defense comes in, a team comes in, and they just look overmatched. I think you're getting that here. I think the Lions are going to look really good.
Hey, Gordon?
I agree. Whenever you pick the Lions, especially when they're at home on that fast track, Jahmyr Gibbs, there ain't nobody catching him. David Montgomery's been kind of a bust this year, been kind of like a down, but he's that good. He's good if you need a yard, he'll get you a yard. If you need 2 yards, he'll get you a yard. But Jahmyr Gibbs, if you need a yard, he'll get you 80. You can take your bet, move the Lions to minus 19.5 and probably still cover and win.
Gage, what do you think?
So I had to look up on who was starting quarterback this week for the Giants. 5 hours ago, Jackson Dart not cleared for contact. So I'm going to roll with Jameis Winston. Got to share this funny headline 11 hours ago from Market Watch. New York Giants quarterback Jameis Winston says he regrets letting his friends and family spend $400,000 a month of his money. I would regret that too. I don't care who you are. I don't know why you're a month. What are you spending that on? Like, come on.
Jameis, come on.
Yeah. I don't let other people spend $400 of my money. I'd be mad about that.
I'm hard pressed whenever someone says, "Hey, can I borrow $40?" So it's like, hey, 400,000. I'm not too sure about that one. I'm rolling with Jameis Winston as the starting quarterback this week, but I don't think it's going to matter. I picked the Giants last week to win. They almost did it. They almost pulled the upset, but they can't do it this week. The Lions are just too good. Give me Detroit, and I think they cover the 10 points as well.
I think Jameis is going to come out here if he does start this week. He's going to have some fun this week. He's going to actually throw a couple of touchdowns. Now he's going to throw some picks too, but he's going to throw some touchdowns on this defense. But the Lions, like you said, they're at home. If they can run the ball, they're going to win. They're going to run the ball. Gibbs is even catching passes out of the backfield, extension of that running game. That's what Detroit wants to do. Last week, they just couldn't get it going. The Eagles, what an awful Monday night game that was, too, right? I mean, any Eagles game lately has been horrible. We'll talk about them after a while. But I like the Lions to win this game as well. I think the Lions cover, and this may be the last we see of Jameis this year, unfortunately. We're Jameis fans on here just for the entertainment factor.
He's certainly entertaining. He's number one in the league in entertainment. You never know what you're getting from throw to throw, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sling it. We go to an NFC North matchup for the next one, and that would be the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Green Bay to face the Green Bay Packers. 1 o'clock on Fox. Green Bay is a 6-point favorite at home. Gordon, what do you think about your team here in this spot?
Oh, my Lord. You know who I'm taking. Taking Green Bay. If we can't beat the Vikings and J.J. McDonough, oh, my God. This would be worse than losing to Mr. 30 for 30 if we'd have lost that game. I would almost say I told you a while back, the Browns ones I could see. We was going against Myles Garrett, our right guard and right tackle. We had called someone for practice squad for right guard. And our third string right tackle, which is a backup right guard, was our right tackle. You line up against Myles Garrett, you had less than 2 seconds to get rid of the ball. Our offense ain't that good. But our defense should be able to contain J.J. McCarthy from that team up north. You know why he's having trouble winning and making passes, right? It's hard to know what the defense is doing without someone telling you ahead of time. When there's no cheating, it's hard to be successful. Anyways, I'll never let that go. Anyways, I got the Packers winning. And should be pretty handily.
Gage, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm riding on the same boat here. We all know it. I was pro J.J. McCarthy here for the longest time. I thought the kid was going to be something. Now, he still could be. It's just, coming off the injury still, he's not looked great in any of his NFL time. And I don't think it's going to start this week. I'm going to go with the Packers, and I'm going to take the Packers to cover that 6 points.
No.
Agreed. I have the Packers by 8 points in this game. I think Micah Parsons makes a huge difference. And when you look at the way McCarthy's been throwing the ball, it's not great. Here's your PFF stat you can take home with you. Obviously, the Vikings, they blitz more than anybody, right? Brian Flores and all of that. Jordan Love so far this year is our highest graded passer against the blitz. That makes a big difference in this game. I've got the Packers covering as well.
Yeah, I like the Packers in this one as well. It's Jordan Love has not looked that great this year. Josh Jacobs, the Packers started out looking pretty good, and then they've just kind of been at the last little bit. The Vikings, on the other hand, me and Gage, Gage was pro J.J. McCarthy, and I was like, I seen what J.J. McCarthy did in college. He was, the running game's what carried him. Aaron Jones hasn't been healthy all season for the most part. He's played a few games. I'm not sure if he's playing this Sunday or not. I haven't seen. I don't think it matters, though. I got Green Bay winning this one at home, and I got Green Bay covering. So the next matchup, and boy, this should be a good one here. The Seattle Seahawks travel to Nashville to face the Tennessee Titans at 1 o'clock on Fox. Seattle's a 13.5-point favorite. Dalton, what do you think about this matchup right here?
I do think the Titans defense, their front seven especially, could keep them in this for a bit. They've kind of played a few of those games this year where their Jeffrey Simmons and those guys kept them in it. But I just have no idea how Tennessee's going to score in this game. Seattle's defense is awesome. They were terrific for especially the last 3 quarters against the Rams last week. Could be kind of a slow burn, but I do think Seattle eventually gets to the cover. I have it 24-6 Seahawks.
That's actually good. I was thinking by 27.
They could just go out there. The only thing is that the Titans front seven is okay. It's not like it could give the Seahawks O-line some problems early. So I'm like, maybe they kind of play the way they've played Houston both times, and it's like they'll get there eventually, but the first half might be kind of one of those tighter than you think kind of things.
If they do like they did though a few weeks ago when they moved JSN all over, didn't leave him on one side, throw him from the slot, JSN will chew him up, and that's all there is to it. So that's what I think they're going to do because they really don't have much of a secondary. Tennessee doesn't. So I got to win. Yeah, I got them covering. We'll just put it that way. But I think they'll win by at least 27. They're going to chew them up.
Gage.
I think this is an interesting one to look at. If you look at the Seahawks team, they've been winning. They've been dominant. However, I like to kind of compare this back to the Arizona game. Seattle got out to a quick 35-0 lead. And the final score ended up being 44-22. So after that 35-point scoring, they only scored 9 points after that. Is that indicative of Seahawks just let off the gas? Maybe so. Is it indicating that their defense was better than everything. We got 2 scoop and score fumbles out here. Maybe. It's the Titans, though, and who can place anything on Tennessee? So we're going to go with the Seahawks, and we're going to take from the cover. I'm interested to know what the ratings are in this game and how many people actually watch it.
In Seattle and people in Seattle pretty much. But you mentioned that the Titans, the Seahawks beat the Cardinals a couple weeks ago with the defensive scores, 35-0. They were up on them and then kind of let off the gas. They played the Cardinals. Interestingly enough, that's the only win that the Titans have this year, and that was because the Cardinals just choked that game completely away. Just give it to them. Nobody wanted to get the ball at the end, and they just landed them in the end zone. This offense is not fun to watch. Cam Ward, I'm not real big believer in him. I mean, the least talked about number 1 pick as a quarterback, I believe, in a long time in the NFL, and still nobody's talking about him because there's no reason really to talk about him. Seattle, fun on the other side for the most part. Sam Darnold has looked good for the most part of the season. And then, JSN and, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, who's going to get the more touches here for fantasy purposes? Hopefully Charbonnet, right? But anyways, I'm going to go with Seattle in this one. I think Seattle wins, and I think Seattle covers. I think Tennessee will keep it close for a little bit, but that offense just isn't going to be able to score any points. Seattle wins, and the score will look, worse than what it actually is. Next 1 o'clock matchup we got. This one should be a good one here. The Indianapolis Colts travel to Kansas City to face the Chiefs at 1 o'clock on CBS. Kansas City's a 3.5-point favorite. Who do you like here?
I know I said earlier when we were going through the fantasy stuff that the Colts were on a bye this week with their defense. Basically going against Kansas City, you're on a bye. I'm not going to start you. It's in Arrowhead. The Chiefs are kind of rolling right now. I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one. They are the favorite, surprisingly. I kind of thought maybe Indy would be favored here. But I am going to go with Kansas City. I think they'll cover. And I look for Travis Kelce's best game of the season in this one.
I believe Kansas City lost last week, didn't they?
Denver beat them.
Yeah. The only reason why they're favored is because they're in Arrowhead and Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback. That's just about it. But I got them winning because you just don't go against Patrick Mahomes. If you do, normally you lose. Not this year, evidently, but normal circumstances. I got the Chiefs winning because they're at home.
Dalton.
I think not only is this the biggest game of the week, you could argue, I think it's the hardest one to pick. And to be honest, I'll tell you, listen, I do this 40, 50 hours a week. I pour through the mountains of tape and all the numbers and anytime I make game picks on I feel like I can never get a Chiefs game right, man. I pick they're going to bounce back this time and then they lose. And then I finally pick the Chiefs downfall and then they win. And I'm so over picking Chiefs games. I can't get any Chiefs games right. Everything else feel good about. Chiefs games, I have no idea. I'm actually threading the needle here. The Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites. I'm going to take them to win. Officially, I only took them by 1 point. I think you have outstanding battles right now between Daniel Jones and Steve Spagnuolo. And Jones, his last couple games has looked shaky. And then Patrick, but don't forget the old rivalry. Patrick Mahomes versus Lou Anarumo. Anarumo at times in the past with Cincinnati, he's kind of had the formula a little bit to at least slow him down. So I will sit here and tell you I have no idea who's winning this game. I'm taking the Chiefs. I'm copping out, taking them by 1 point with the Colts cover.
Yeah, so the Chiefs, they're 5-5. They're sitting on the outside of the playoffs right now at this point in the season. They've got to start adding up some wins here, stacking up some wins. They've got a favorable schedule after this. If you look at the Chiefs' schedule the rest of the way, it's not a murderer's row by any means at all. This may be the toughest game that they have left. I believe they face Denver again at home, so maybe that's one of them. But the rest of them, not bad. The Colts, on the other hand, they played, where was it? Did they play Spain last time they played, wasn't it? Was that the last game that they played, I believe?
Germany. I think they had the Germany one.
Germany, yeah, right. And they may have should have lost that one if it wasn't for Jonathan Taylor and his, big run that he had in that game. Daniel Jones, like you said, looked great. We were talking about him being a possible MVP candidate, definitely maybe a comeback player of the year, coming back from what Gage? Anyways, so, I think that this is going to be a really good game. I got the Chiefs winning this one as well, and I think the Chiefs actually are going to cover this 3.5-point spread.
That makes me nervous. That makes me nervous that we're all on Kansas City. That makes me
a little. It's like the College game day graphic up on the screen, right? Where everybody's taking this.
Because I just think this is as 50-50 a game as we have this week.
Absolutely.
This just come in. You ready? Coach Jonathan Taylor just scored another touchdown.
The last 1 o'clock matchup we've got, it's those New York Jets. They're traveling to Baltimore to face the Baltimore Ravens at 1 o'clock on Baltimore. Somebody didn't put what it was on. I guess CBS, doesn't matter. Baltimore's a 13.5-point favorite. Dalton, we'll start with you. How you feel about your team in this game?
For as much as there are, I'm sure, some lunatics in New York who are believing a Tyrod Taylor revenge game is coming, it's not coming. The Ravens defense, more so than Lamar and Henry and everything on offense, the Ravens defense is playing a hell of a lot better the last month. I think they're going to shut us down. I have the Ravens winning and cover, especially in Baltimore. And look, I think the Jets, honestly, they've played with a lot of effort. The defense has played with they played really hard the last month or so as well. But I just know Garrett Wilson still. This Ravens defense playing a lot better. Kyle Hamilton's a freak of nature. I mean, he's just unstoppable no matter where you line him up. Ravens big. I think it's going to be an easy one.
You mentioned Kyle Hamilton before we get back to the picks there. Gordon really loved the play call a few weeks ago where McDaniel threw a fade route to Devon Achane in the corner over Kyle Hamilton. Gordon, what do you think about this game?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean the rant where I said, why in the hell would you throw a fade route to a 5'9" running back over a 6'4" safety?
That's the one.
Hamilton, that was stupid. That's about how that one went. Believe it or not, I got the Ravens winning. That you can believe that. But I don't see a cover.
Well, he's got the Jets the least respectable because they covered the other night against New England, right? I think they did.
Yeah, they did. There's something about Tyrod Taylor. He seems to do better than starters when he's a backup, but once he's a starter, he sucks eggs. But when he's a backup, he always does better than the starters. That's not saying a whole lot this year, but I think they'll keep it. I think they'll keep it within a little bit. He might inspire the defense to play even better. I don't know, but I say about a 10-point game.
Gage, what do you think?
So I've always been one of the people who, throughout his entire career, I've just liked Tyrod. No real reason about it. Didn't really like him in college. He came into the NFL. I'm like, you know what? The poor guy lost his job out in Los Angeles because some doctor punctured his lung. Yep. And then Justin Herbert was able to just slide in there and take over from there. I do a thing each week, Dalton, where I do an underdog pick of the week. And this was not planned at all. I already had this pick. We're going with the Jets to be the underdog pick of the week. Partly because I like Tyrod, partly because I hate the Ravens. So when we combine the two together, it makes perfect sense. I think you're going into Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, the rest of the Ravens just have this big head coming in that like we're just going to run the table. It's going to be super easy. And Tyrod's going to be, you know what? I don't care. You already benched Justin. What are you going to do? Bench me? All right, go right ahead. Put Justin back in here. I have nothing to lose. He's going to sling it, and Jets are going to come out with a win.
Wow.
That's a declaration right there, man. Of all the upsets this week you could have picked, any week, any given week, you know how gutsy it is I believe I've picked the Jets to win a game one time this year on our show through 11, 12 weeks. I picked them to beat Miami back in like week 3 or whatever on Monday night. I said, nope, this was the game. I'm not picking them to win again. I'm not doing it. Can't do it.
Dalton, I can tell you right now, I know why Gage is picking the Jets to win this one. They beat the Bengals. They beat the Browns. If they could beat the Ravens, the only team in the AFC North they've lost to is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's
your leg up. You're the one team that would have taken care of business. There's your leg up right there. See that? Common opponents.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I could say at the end of the season, if the Ravens do somehow come out and win the division, at least we didn't lose to the Jets.
So Baltimore are on a roll right now. Lamar's back. He's playing really well. Derrick Henry still isn't the Derrick Henry of old so far this year. He hasn't really got it going a whole lot in certain games. The defense is playing a lot better for Baltimore, and that's the key to this whole thing for this winning streak and them coming back from 1-5, 2-5, something like that. And now they're 500 again or close to it. I've got Baltimore winning this one. Sorry, Dalton. Breece Hall, I think, is a really nice player. Maybe, he was maybe hoping to be on a different team. I don't know. He still had one of my favorite quotes about, shooting yourself in the foot. But anyways, I'm going to go with Baltimore on this one. I think Baltimore wins. Give me a Baltimore cover, too. I think it's a 2-touchdown game. So the next matchup we'll go to the 4 o'clock slate of games, and the Browns and the Raiders. Browns go to Vegas to face the Vegas Raiders at 4:05 on CBS. Vegas is a 4-point favorite. What do you think here?
Game of the week, but with an A, not 2 E's. WAK week. We got the piss poor Browns and the shut the hell up Raiders. Okay. Oh my God. Is there any two? I mean, at least they're finally starting Shador Sanders when he's getting some practice. That poor dude last week, he didn't stand a snowball's chance in hell with the heater up. That was atrocious. Then again, the Raiders have been atrocious all years except for week one. Let me ask all this. How in the hell did the Raiders beat the Patriots week one?
Turnovers. It was just one of those games where when you look back at it, you go, what in the world? Actually, I'll say the real reason, it was the one really good game Geno played all year.
Yeah.
And it was week one, and he was just fell off from there.
I'd say because whatever it was, he gave away a tail because everyone figured out because he has sucked. But I got the Browns. I can't take the Raiders. I watched that game last week, and it put me to freaking sleep. I mean, I went to sleep 5 minutes into the game. I was out, bored. I got the Browns. At least when they do lose, they're entertaining.
Gage, what do we think here?
This game, although it may seem like a very horrible matchup, I think is going to be one of the most watched ones. You're going to have Shador Sanders out there. He's going to be getting first-team reps all this week with Dylan Gabriel out. He's going to be starting this game, and people are going to be watching. They're going to be watching for one of two reasons. They want to either go online and just talk trash about him after he plays really poorly, or you're going to have the Shador fans that go online after he plays a great game and it's like, see, we told you he should have been starting for Cleveland. We told you he should have been drafted first, second round. One of two things is going to happen. Either A, he's going to come out, win, we're going to be great, or number two, he's going to take 2 losses in a span of 7 days and also get his house robbed of $200,000. Either way, I'm not too sure. This game, it's a hard one to pick. We were talking about grades earlier, and I think the Vegas Raiders offensive line has to be one of the worst graded offensive lines, right up there with Cincinnati in the league. Because if you watch Ashton Genty, this guy dominated all last year in college, right? Granted, he didn't play the toughest of schools, but he was still out there performing like any star running back should. And then you look at him with this Raiders team, and it's like, okay, who's bad? Is it the line or is it Genty? And I'm putting all my money on the line. Even though it's an AFC North opponent, I'm going to go with Cleveland. I think Shador picks up his first win of his career, but I think it's a very ugly game. I don't know what the over-under is, but I would take the under in this.
Dalton, what are you thinking?
I agree on the under there. I've got the Browns also. I've been throughout this entire process, and I really love Shador at Colorado. I'm a big fan of his game. I really think he could be good if he can just kind of find the right situation and kind of just, be humble enough to just play his role in the offense, right? I do think there are times when he has shown that. And last week, look, the Ravens turned up the heat on him. They blitzed him a lot. The Raiders don't really blitz a lot. I don't think they're going to this week. So, look, this is a game. You mentioned it. I think you made the right call, Gage. 2 awful offensive lines here. Who's going to be able to block somebody? I think Quinshon Judkins is going to play a big part at this. At the end of the day, the spotlight will be on Shador, but it should be on the Browns defense. That's the best unit on this field. It'll be ugly, but I got the Browns winning too.
The Browns made one mistake last week on defense, and that was 4th and inches. Mark Andrews comes up for the tush push and takes it down the field for a 35-yard touchdown and the game winner basically in that one. That was the Browns' only downfall. They had that game, wrapped up pretty good. I mean, they had a real good shot at winning, but just one mistake there. Shador Sanders comes in, 4 of 16 passing. You can't really blame him on that. Like you said, there was a lot of blitzing on there. He wants to set back in the pocket. He's a pocket passer. He wants to set back there, and he wants to pick the defense apart. He just didn't have time to do that all last week. No reps in practice. I mean, he's not getting first-team reps up until this past week. Like, even as the backup quarterback, they usually let him come in and practice with the first-stringers, but Stefanski hasn't let Shador for whatever reason. The guy's getting robbed. He's got to catch a break somehow. And I'd already decided this pick here early before we done this. So here we go again with the college game day graphic once again, pretty much. I'm going Cleveland Browns in this one. And I think that the Browns cover because they're the road dog, Jesse James, in this one. So we head to our next one. We've got the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Arizona to face the Arizona Cardinals at 4:05 on CBS. Jacksonville's a 3-point favorite. Dalton, who you like in this one?
This is a weird one because the Cardinals, their offense has looked better with Jacoby Brissett out there. They can't really run the football because they have no running backs left. They're all although I think they might be getting Trey Benson back this week. Is that right? But I don't know that that makes a huge difference the way they're blocking up front. I think this is an odd one, but I do like the Jaguars' ability to run the ball. Travis Etienne, if Bashal Tutin's playing, he's obviously starting to really contribute to that as well. Like the way their offensive line is playing and just kind of this ball control offense that I think can work against Jonathan Gannon's defense. I have it actually right at that 3-point spread. I have the Jags 23-20. It is going to come down to, I just think Trevor Lawrence has just got to keep it together. He did last week against the Chargers and really was a conservative style of kind of ball control. I think that'll work again just enough against the Cardinals this week to get out of there with it.
Gage, what do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be one of those games where Trey McBride is going to be leaned on a lot. Michael Wilson's going to be leaned on a lot. Jacoby Brissett coming off an NFL record 47 completions in a game in a loss. Like, okay, I believe I saw a thing where there's only been 2 quarterbacks in NFL history to throw 47 completions. Jacoby Brissett and Big Ben in the wild card round here a couple years ago, and both resulted in a loss. So it turns out when you complete that many passes, you're still going to lose, as rumor has it. Without Marvin Harrison Jr., you're without Imari DeMarcado, Trey Benson limited this week, Bam Knight limited this week. If neither of those two can go, they might just say, Kyler Murray, get out there. We're just going to hand the ball off to you because we have no running backs left. I don't know who fills in after that. And I think that's going to be a big hindrance to the Cardinals team. I'm going to go with the Jags in this one, and I think they cover the 3 points.
Call of Duty's out. Kyler's not playing. Gordon, what do you think?
Well, Gage, you're young enough. Why don't you move to Arizona? They'll hire you off the street to be running back.
I will die out there.
No, I would die running. The first 2 yards, I would fall flat on my face. But actually, I got the Cardinals. I got the Cardinals winning. Don't need the points. Because they're that damn bass hound on there if I could sleep in the home dogs.
Dalton, earlier you mentioned, who was it? The Colts were the hard team to pick this year. Who was it? What team was it you were talking about?
The Colts Chiefs game. Yeah, I think this might be the next hardest one after that one. I would agree with that. This is a weird one. If it was in Jacksonville, I'd be like, yeah, shoe it in Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
But the road factor and the way Brissett's playing makes it a little weird.
And Jacksonville's kind of been up and down all year. Just when you think that they win, they don't, and then when you think that they lose, they come out and win. Like last week, I'm pretty sure we all picked the Chargers to beat Jacksonville.
Yeah,
I did
because,
too. Yeah,
because of the way the week before where Jacksonville choked it away to the Texans at the end of that game, right? And then you think that the Chargers are looking really good, and the Chargers put up 6 points against them, and they score 35, and it's like, where was this team? You see the flashes of them every so often. The Cardinals look a lot better with Jacoby Brissett as quarterback than they have all year with Kyler Murray. Marvin Harrison being out last week obviously didn't hurt the receiving core at all. You do want him out there, of course, but Michael Wilson, like almost 200 yards receiving. Trey McBride, over 100 yards receiving. They ain't got a running game. Was it Bam Knight had like 24 yards or 22 yards, whatever it was? I think that the Cardinals get it too here. I think that they win at home. They pull off the upset just because the Jaguars, I don't know. Now, if they come out and they pound them, okay, that's fine. I could see it, but I got the Cardinals here. The Cardinals are due for a win at home, and Jacksonville's the perfect opponent to have that happen. The next matchup we've got, 425 matchups. The Eagles travel to Dallas to face the Cowboys at 425 on Fox. Philly's a 3.5-point favorite on the road. Gordon, what are we thinking here?
Well, I'm not picking the Cowgirls this week, that's for sure. They've got, top 5 worst run defenses? Something like that. It's horrible. Saquon Barkley should actually get his game going again this week. I've got the Eagles, and I've got them covering because they can play defense. And for some reason, I don't know, probably because I put him on the bench. I got A.J. Brown on the bench on my fantasy team. He'll probably go off for 498 yards this week and 17 touchdowns. I'm just kidding, but no, I got the Eagles winning. I got them covering.
Gage.
So I think this one's going to depend on if George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb break curfew again and are out gambling at some Dallas casino this time. It was very interesting to me. You break curfew, you break this rule. We're going to sit you for one drive. You really punished them out there, Dallas, didn't you? You really showed them who's boss. You guys went 3 and out and proved that you need these two on the field. So I don't really know what you accomplished by that. They took a little less hits, and yeah, they still showed out. They still played well. I like the Cowboys offense. I don't like the Eagles offense. I like the Eagles defense. I don't like the Dallas defense. So it's kind of a toss up here. It's a divisional matchup. Just because it's in Dallas, I'm going to go with the Cowboys to win it. I think they're going to put up a lot of points, and I don't know if Philly can keep up with it. Give me Dallas in this one, and obviously they cover.
I am going Dallas also. I don't like that Lane Johnson looks like he's going to be out for Philly at right tackle, and you make a great point there, Gordon, about the Cowboys' run defense and how bad it's been. And I know they're playing the Raiders, so this is the real test now, but Quinnen Williams is a difference maker in there on the inside, right? That's a big time guy you picked up. They got DeMarvion Overshown back at line. You're getting guys back in there that the front seven has looked, it's not great. I'm not going to tell you it's great, but it's looked better lately. And the Eagles have not run the ball nearly as well as they did last year. And without Lane Johnson out there, I think that task only gets harder. And Prescott looked really good against Philly week one. I think the Cowboys, without a couple of drops, the Cowboys should have beat them in Philly week one. I'm taking Dallas also straight up.
Yeah, the big question I've got in this, and it does have to do with the week one game, can Jalen Carter keep his loogies to himself? And if he can, I think that could be a big difference maker for this game because Dallas put up 20 against Philly without Jalen Carter in the middle right there. And that Javonte Williams had a breakout game that week for Dallas.
Jamar Chase was nice enough to send him a reminder.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Jamar. But I think that I'm going to go with Philly in this one. I think that whatever the over-under in this is going to be, take the under because Philly is just like slowing teams down, suffocating teams. You had that high-powered Detroit offense last week, only scored 9 points. Dallas, I think, maybe have a little bit more of an explosive offense than Detroit does this year, but Philly knows that offense pretty well. I got Philly in this one. I think it's going to be another boring game. It's going to be hyped up. Everybody's going to be watching the 425 window for this game right here, and everybody's going to be let down thinking this is going to be a good game once again.
Well, I'll be watching it. My wife's a fan of the Eagles.
So the other 425 matchup, if you don't want to watch that one, they've got an NFC South matchup game that everybody can watch, and that's Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons traveling to New Orleans to face Tyler Shuck and the New Orleans Saints at 425 on Fox. New Orleans is a 1.5-point favorite. Dalton, what do you think here?
Well, that spread is indicative of two teams that anytime they play each other, man, things get weird. This is maybe the weirdest rivalry in football because it doesn't matter which stadium it's in or who's playing. You're gonna see something weird in this game. I don't know what it's gonna be. If it's gonna be 4 defensive touchdowns or somebody runs for 300 yards for no reason or what. Something weird's it's gonna look weird. But at the end of the day, when the small sample, really over the past year, I shouldn't say small sample, it's been a year and a half. When Kirk Cousins has been on the field the last year and a half, this Falcons offense just doesn't look good at all, passing or running, because you don't have to respect Cousins throwing it downfield. Teams can stack the box. I think DeMario Davis and this Saints defense really control things. As long as they slow down Bijan Robinson, I think they're going to be just fine. No Drake London. Michael Penix done for the season. I like the Saints at home in this game. I'm taking them.
Gordon.
I agree. I like the Saints at home because it's going to be Kirk, not my cousin. And I think Tyler O'Shucks is a better quarterback than Kirk's not my cousin. Been like Kirk Cousins in freaking college. Thought he blowed then and he blows now. But anywho, I got them because I think he's going to have I think it's going to be a good game. Bijan's all you got to worry about because Kirk Cousins cannot throw the ball. I think it's going to be a good game. I think concussion Olave is probably going to have a good game. There you go, Gage. I coined your phrase. I said your phrase for you.
Thank you.
Gage, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm right there with it. You slow down Bijan, you don't respect Kirk because you don't have to. The over-under here is 39.5, and I'd be willing to take the under on that because I'm just not looking forward to this game at all. I might not watch a 425 game. I might go back to the 405 slate and just be like, let me find a game here because I don't like that at all. Penix out, Kirk in, Drake out. Number 1 receiver is Darnell Mooney. Kyle Pitts out there as well, looking to have a good game because, it's 2025 and people still expect him to have a good game for some reason. We're going to go with the Shuck Master, Tyler Shuck. And give me the Saints in this one, and they cover as well.
All shut.
Oh, man. So here we go again. We're at the point where we could all have the same graphic once again. I'm just going to go Falcons just to be different on this one. I don't really like any one of these teams. I don't think either one of them is very good at all. Maybe Kirk Cousins has one more magical game and he gets them to 10 points and it's like a 10-6 game. I don't know. Tyler Shuck actually didn't look too bad the last time. Threw for almost 300 yards in a game where they beat the Panthers, and that was like, wait a minute, the Panthers are at home. They don't lose at home. The Saints done it. I think that the Falcons come in here, and like I said, just because everybody else picked the Saints, I'm cool with the Falcons because neither one of these teams are very good. Nobody's one of these 4 NFC South teams playing each other, and there's always weird stuff with them. Tampa Bay's the only one where some weird things don't happen when they play these teams, seems like. So we go to Sunday night now. Speaking of Tampa Bay, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to L.A. to face the L.A. Rams at 8:20 on NBC. The Rams are a 7-point favorite. Gage, what are we thinking here?
Yeah, I'm liking the Rams in this one. You got potential MVP of the season at quarterback and Matt Stafford. 2,500 yards, 27 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. Aaron Williams in the running game, he's not as explosive as he has been the past couple years, but still 158 carries, 750 yards, 6 touchdowns. You still got Puka, Devontae Adams, and the Bucs. I think they're just overwhelmed with injuries. I like them. I think they're a good team. Baker Mayfield going back to LA to kind of a revenge game, question mark. There was that time, it may not be in everyone's mind, but there's that time for the Rams, had like 48 hours to prepare for a game and won. 7-point spread, it's a lot for 2 good teams, but I'm going to take LA to cover.
I might feel that this tells me never to count him out. Because for some reason, if you do, he'll find K. Dotton 27 times for 687,000 yards and 2 touchdowns. For some reason, I don't know. Just been up since 4 o'clock. I'm getting kind of slap happy with these things. But he'll end up getting like 15 catches or something like that. He'll throw to K. I got the Rams winning, but I don't have them covered. I think it's going to be about between a 2 to 3 point game.
What do you think?
I could see Baker fighting his way into that. I just think right now the way the Rams are playing, the way the Bucs are playing, I think the Rams are a lot better. I think you could argue the Rams are the best team in football, and like Gage mentioned there, for me, right in this minute, Stafford would be my MVP pick. He's just been outstanding. He looks of younger quarterbacks and a lot of the things they haven't seen in the league yet, but it feels like any time they have to go against more veteran quarterbacks that can see it and can really read the field pre-snap or does at a masterful level.
Yeah, the Buccaneers been decimated by injuries for most part of the season. Still without Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You got Buka, who's kind of pulled off a little bit the last few weeks. Sean Tucker, though, has really come on lately. I mean, who's seen Sean Tucker being the lead running back, overtaking Rachaad White? Tampa Bay's fun to watch still. Baker is a fun quarterback to watch. I don't think he's got a whole lot for the Rams. I mean, just 2 picks all season long. You got Puka out there who just catches, as long as he's healthy, you see him, he's 9 catches, 10 catches, just about every week. A lot of yards. Devontae Adams playing really well. Kind of resurgence for him out there in LA. I like the Rams to win this one. I think Tampa Bay will keep it close, but I think the Rams will probably win by about a touchdown. I think that point spread is just about right in this. And that would be the Carolina Panthers traveling out to San Francisco to face the Niners at 8:15 on ESPN. San Francisco is a 7-point favorite. Gordon, who do you like here?
Well, this isn't in Carolina. This is in San Francisco. I don't know what to call them now because I was calling them the 44ers because they had so many people. They got Christian McCaffrey, my fantasy running back. Yeah, I got the 49ers winning, and I got them covering. Like I said, Panthers ain't at home. They're on the West Coast.
Dalton, what do you think?
This is a hard one. I really, really want to believe in the Panthers. There's been so many moments this year where I'm like, I just want to believe you're taking this. And really, I mean, they have, right? They've won more games this year already than they won all last year, right? So they're definitely better. They're better on defense. And every week now, it feels like which Bryce are we getting? Which one is it? I can't do it. If they were in Carolina, I probably would. The thing that sticks out to me is I think McCaffrey, like you mentioned, I think, first of all, Christian McCaffrey revenge game. Don't forget now, right? And this Panther run defense, it's better, but this Niner run game with McCaffrey and Shanahan is a problem. And I don't think they have any answer for today. Got the Niners actually by exactly 7. I feel pretty good that this is going to be a one-score game. If Bryce Young comes out and plays more like he did last week against Atlanta, they can go out there and win this game. I think there's some matchup problems when the 49ers have the ball against the Panthers defense, especially McCaffrey and Kittle, that are going to get them the win here.
Gage, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with everybody. Bryce Young, you look at his game last week at Atlanta, just under 69% completion rate, 448 yards, 3 touchdowns. The better with Josh Allen from last week. But if you look at his numbers, it's only the second time this season he's thrown for over 200 yards. He had a 328 and a 448. All the other games have been under 200 yards. And a lot of it has to do with they're 6-5 and they're leaning on that run game. Rico Dowdle came alive there for a few games span and played outstanding. So Bryce didn't have to throw it a lot. He didn't have to throw it all over the place. But I kept saying how many times that throw the ball to Tedero McMillan, and look what happened. You won. He's on the season now, 54 catches, 748 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But you look on the other side of the ball, Brock Purdy came back last week, 73% completion rate, only 200 yards, but 3 touchdowns, didn't really have to do a whole lot. And I think that's the way that Shanahan and the 49ers are going to go about this game. Throw the ball over to Juwan Jennings, throw it over the top to George Kittle, and let Christian McCaffrey do his thing. So we're going to rock with the 49ers in this one. 7-point spread, it is a lot. I think they can cover it, maybe 8 or 9 points.
So San Francisco, they owned a bunch of second, third string guys back there, especially since Fred Warner went out. His replacement went out, which Bethune also.
Yeah,
Also out. That's a bad position to be missing somebody from defense right there. Your first string and your second string, the captain of your defense base. I think that could be the difference maker in this game right here. A fun fact I've got for this one right here: the Panthers are 6-5 this season. They are 0-5 when they lose the coin toss. Get back to me after Monday night at 8:15, and I'll tell you what my pick is for game. So, no, I'm going to go with the Panthers. Give me the Panthers in the upset in Santa Clara on Monday night. Bryce Young, over 400-some yards last week, looked really good. I think that offense can score on the Niners. I know a couple weeks ago they didn't do so hot against the Saints. But I think they can do it a little bit against the Niners here. And I think I'm going to believe in them a little bit here, Dalton. Like you said, you want to believe in them? I'm going to jump on the boat here, and I'm going to believe in them.
All right, thanks. Not.
That's it. You wake up the next morning, you're like, hey, coin toss tells it all. That's it. So, and then the teams we've got this week, you got the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Chargers, and the Commanders. 12 picks. Anybody else have anything else to add to this into this podcast here?
Yeah, the Panthers' resurgent last week was because Michael Penix went out, and when he went out, that's when they started coming back because Kirk Cousins can't do a damn thing. He can't throw a ball past his tennis shoes. Little Tim Tebow could throw the ball better than Kirk Cousins can.
Now Tim Tebow references.
Iowa State is the reason why. I'm an Ohio State guy.
Well, then you're feeling pretty good. Fun fact: I was down in Tampa. I was at Kirk Cousins' last college game, the Outback Bowl against Aaron Murray in Georgia. I think it went to like 3 overtimes. It was back when I was living in Tampa, and they had the Outback Bowl. I don't know what they call it now. They still have it. It's called something else. It was Michigan State, Georgia. An absolute classic.
So we want to thank you for joining the podcast. It was fun getting us a little bit of insight on we learned a little bit here, right?
Yeah, you know what? I think fans are still going to today. Wins are all that matters in our eyes.
Absolutely. And I think, you know what, I think the fun part of it is, look, we got a ton of information. We got the grades and all that stuff. And I think the fun part is we don't have to agree on everything. We don't have, if you get two parties that agree on every single thing, they're doing it wrong. We don't have to agree on everything, but no, it's fun to get out here and just kind of explain what we do, right? And I'm trying to do that, especially as somebody who's done all that stuff myself behind the scenes. I did it for multiple seasons. So it's always fun to just come on and talk about it and have these kind of debates. That's what it's here for.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you taking your time to come on and join us on this show here. And we'll catch everybody in the next one.